Don't take supplements. Do you want to know why you shouldn't take supplements? Well, today we're going to go through 2 things to understand why we shouldn't do them. Let's get into it. The first thing is called the 5 components of exercise and sport. The second thing we're going to go through today is called the principle of diminishing returns. Let's get into it and see what they're about and how they're going to give us the answer to why we shouldn't take supplements. So what are the 5 components of exercise and sport? Well, the first one is technique and skill. The second one is fitness. The third one is psychology. The fourth one is nutrition. And the last one, number 5, is rest. So technique and skill. Let's go through an example of a bodybuilder doing a bicep workout. Okay, we're picking up some items from around the house and we're going to show how this is bad if we don't know how to do the movements correctly. So guys, we can just see with that example there that I did a bicep curl. One puts the weight right here, okay, and it puts the weight on our shoulder. Okay, the next example drops the elbow down and it puts the weight onto the bicep. So one workout works out the shoulder really, and the other one works out the bicep. You might be saying, what's this got to do with anything? Well, it just shows you that by changing the way that we do an exercise can increase our muscle gains. So that's an example of technique and skill, bodybuilding, soccer, AFL, whatever it might be. The next one is fitness. Let's just say I play a game of footy, but I only lasted to the first quarter, which is 25 minutes. Okay, and the rest of the 3 quarters I had to sit out on the bench because I couldn't make it. Does that mean that I'm fit enough, or does it mean that I'm unfit? Number 3, psychology. There's something called optimal arousal in psychology. That means that, let's just say that I'm really hyped up, I'm really energetic, but I play the game of basketball. In basketball, we do a bit of a shot, a jump shot. However, jump shotting requires fine motor movements because it uses our fingers. It's a fine motor skill. Okay, we know that being hyper aggressive, really angry, really hyped up can affect our fine motor skills and potentially allow us to, or cause us to miss a shot. In contrast, let's just say we're really lethargic, we're really tired, we're really lazy, we're really slow. That means that we're gonna have less power to form those powerful movements such as getting rebounds, getting defensive blocks, etc. Number 4, nutrition. AFL players usually run around 11 to 17 kilometers per game. That's a lot of Ks, know what I mean? And that means the energy system that's gonna be dominating their performance, mainly glycolysis, anaerobic and aerobic glycolysis. What does that mean? It just means carbohydrates, okay? So what we're gonna do with nutrition is ensure that our AFL players, before that game on Saturday, that we're gonna have enough carbs so we can play the whole game for 2 hours. Does that make sense? Nutrition, carbohydrates, enough storage to get maximal performance out of that game. Number 5 is rest. Okay, we know that if we do something which is called our circadian rhythm, our sleeping pattern, so if we go to bed at 10 and we wake up at 6 every day, it gets our body into a sleeping pattern, into a circadian rhythm, allows our body to have an organization. Okay, this time I'm gonna do REM sleep, this time I'm gonna do non-REM sleep, whatever it might be. It allows our body to get into a place where it can systemically or organize itself for rest and recovery from the mind and the body. So ladies and gentlemen, those are the 5 components of exercise and sport. You might be thinking, how does that relate to not taking supplements? As a generalization, elite athletes are exceptional at those 5 components of sport, which means taking supplements is going to provide a small gain, but it's a gain that's very hard to get. In order to understand that, we have to go into the next example so we can really wrap this up about why we don't take supplements. All right, guys, so let's just say that I go onto Facebook, I go onto Facebook Marketplace, and I go onto eBay and I type in motorcycle, red, Honda, okay, and I buy a motorcycle for $500. I get on the train, I go there, I buy the motorcycle, I ride it home. Now the top speed for this motorcycle at $500 is 50 Ks an hour. Let's just say that I go on eBay and I bid for an exhaust pipe, new piston rings, and a new fuel injector, all for another $500. I win the eBay account, I get them delivered, I use my gloves, I use my wrenches, and I apply them to the motorcycle. So now I've spent $1,000 and I've increased my motorcycle top speed from 50 Ks to 100 Ks an hour. Well, you might be thinking, what is this guy talking about? Well, this analogy represents amateur athletes. The next example is about elite athletes. So let's talk about a blue Yamaha motorcycle from the Moto Grand Prix, the highest level of motorcycle racing in Australia. On average, the top speed is around 350 Ks an hour. Now, if the Yamaha co-op, if the particular, if it's a private company, whatever it might be, if they want to take the top speed from 350 to 351 Ks an hour, guess how much it's going to cost? It's going to cost up to $1 million. Yes, that's correct. $1 million for an extra 1 kilometer. And you might be saying, what's that got to do with not taking supplements? Well, ladies and gentlemen, this analogy represents elite athletes. This whole motorbike example represents the principle of diminishing returns. And the principle of diminishing returns is basically that whatever we start something, okay, we've got a lot to learn and it's easy to learn those things. However, once we're really, really good at something, not only is it harder to learn new things, but it's also very difficult to obtain those new pieces of information. So to get from 350 to 351 Ks, it's only 1K, okay, but it takes huge amounts of energy. To get from 50 Ks to 100 Ks, it's 50 Ks, but it takes less energy. You might be saying, how does this relate to not taking supplements? Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna answer that right now. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you might be saying, how does these two examples, the 5 components of exercise and sport and the principle of diminishing returns, how does this relate to not taking supplements? Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna make it very clear. If you're someone like myself, if you're an average guy, an average athlete, trying to better yourself, trying to get better, let's just say we took $100 and we spent it on a protein powder. Protein powder is going to be a whey isolate or a whey concentrate or a whey hydrolyzed, okay? As a generalization, this type of recovery supplement is going to provide anywhere between 5 to 10% improvement in our recovery, which is going to help with our performance. 5 to 10%. However, let's just say we take that same $100. If you want to be into bodybuilding, you go and see a personal trainer who goes through the exercises correctly. Or we go and see a football kicking coach, or we go and see a basketball shooting coach, or we go and see a soccer first touch coach. How much benefit do we think seeing a coach is going to have on our game versus a supplement? So ladies and gentlemen, what do you think? Okay, 5 to 10% with the protein powder, or going to see a sports coach who can help us with our program? Ladies and gentlemen, you've seen the bicep example that I've given. Okay, now that bicep curl was one example from one exercise from one aspect of our whole training procedure. So let's just say we're doing bodybuilding and there's 1,000 exercises. Let's just say we do 900 of them wrong. How much gains do you think we're losing? Now let's just say that we do 1,000 exercises, 900 of them wrong, but we take protein supplementation. Okay, does that start to make sense about where I'm getting at with this? That what we really need to do as amateur and intermediate athletes be exceptional in those 5 components of sport. So that way when we get to the top, okay, we're only looking for those marginal improvements because we've excelled at everything else. Let's go through an AFL example. Okay, Dylan Shield in 2020 in the Australian Football League, he got 35 disposals. That means he got the ball and he handballed or kicked it accurately to another player 35 times. Now let's just say that number was 10 instead of 35, but he only gave it off accurately 10 times. He only got 10 disposals. Now that's 25 missed opportunities. Imagine how much that 25 missed opportunities means in goal, how much it affected his teammates, how much it affected the momentum of the game. So you can start to see what I'm saying, that there's no point worrying about supplements if we're not exceptional at these 5 components of exercise and sport. And so ladies and gentlemen, the reason why elite athletes take supplements, when you go and watch an AFL game as a generalization, they can all run the length of the game. They all have good joint structure. They all know how to kick the footy properly. They all know how to mark the football. Now you might say, oh, I've watched a couple of games where they drop it. Yeah, maybe they're not perfect. But as a generalization, elite athletes are exceptional. Okay, and the reason why they take supplements is back towards that motorbike example. A supplement will provide a small improvement, but because it's so hard to get small improvements when you're at the top, that small improvement will mean a lot to you. Does that make sense? So that's where the motorcycle example comes in. When we're at the top, okay, it's very hard to get better. So any small improvement that we can get from a supplement is really going to help us. And that could be the difference between winning or losing the grand final. When we talk about amateur athletes like myself, or someone who's been training for a couple of years, our improvements really need to be made in those 5 components. And a supplement is only going to make a small amount, and we're spending hundreds of dollars wasting our money. So hopefully today, guys, I've really summed it up that if you're an amateur, if you're an intermediate athlete, we don't take supplements because we're not exceptional at the 5 components of exercise and sport, which are the main things that are actually going to help our performance. not supplementation. This is different to elite athletes who take supplements because they are, as a generalization, exceptional at those 5 components of exercise and sport, which means any small marginal benefit from a supplement is really going to help their performance. So guys, I hope that I've helped you save a bit of money and direct our money and direct our time and efforts into the best stuff for our performance as athletes, as bodybuilders, as personal trainers, as basketball players, footy players, whatever it is that you're doing. Hopefully I've directed us into the best direction as we can. If you do want to support this channel, I've started a Patreon account. It's just click the link in the description below and you'll go into an SXT Fit rewards program for Patreon only members. So you can get little raffles, get little prizes, and we'll see what we can do and have some fun with it. If you haven't already, click the subscribe button in the bottom right hand of your screen. Give this video a thumbs up. Comment below what you thought about the video. It's Stefan here at SXT Fit. I'm going to see you next Thursday at 3 p.m. Peace be upon him.